live out in Owings Mills, but they're coming into the city to do their business. So my capacity and the amount that I work with people one-on-one is a little bit more limited, but Keep is available to anyone pretty much in the small business segment.
All right, and then what are the terms? Are the terms specific per loan application, or do you have like set terms of 2, 3, 5, 7 years from like the repayment of the loan? Is it just like interest only, or is it the actual type of principal and interest?
So I'll start at the beginning.
Okay.
We offer 0% interest rate loans up to $10,000 and loan terms up to 36 months. So that all those numbers, except for the 0%, that never changes. All of those numbers, after you submit them on your application, we'll review them internally, and then either come back and you say, yes, this is great, we're willing to offer you at what you picked, or we can also say, we think that this would be a little bit more of a manageable loan. What do you think of this loan term that goes with it?
0% interest. So pretty much just actual type of cash loan then.
It's like crowdfunding that's not a grant.
Okay, crowdfunding is not a grant. So who are the backers then?
Anyone who wants to lend $25.
So specifically, I would say a percentage of that is people who support you and your network, and the other percentage is their network of 1.2 million people. Donors, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Donors. Okay.
Or we call them lenders.
Well, lenders.
Because
it's a loan.
Recognize it's a loan, so you do have to repay it. And I'll talk to that a little bit more coming forward, but also the network piece. The first stage, which you might not know because you haven't gone through it yet, Baltimore Core, and then the trustee, which is PPM. Your trustee endorsement won't count, but they can still post about you. We're trying to engage all of those networks in that first part of the fundraising phase. The next part, that global 1.2 million lenders, is what Kiva offers once you open up on their site to everyone. And I'll explain that process more. That can sound very confusing right now.
No, I get you. So what's your type of default rate?
Depends on what number you want to look at. Right now, I think we're at, it depends because our global stuff and our US stuff is a little bit different. I want to say US is close to 30% right now. I don't know about Baltimore specifically, but I know it's higher than that. And the reason it's higher is because there hasn't been any accountability here in the last 2 years over the program. So I only hopped in 8 months ago.
No, I get you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I really work to do with that repayment stuff, sorry, I've been facing this way. Yeah. With that repayment stuff is like keep in touch with our borrowers. We try to work with people as much as we can to meet them where they're at. So if someone needs to reevaluate their repayment plan or needs to get in touch with someone about falling behind, we're definitely willing to work with people on that. We'd rather people pay back in their time and at their ability than not pay back at all.
So I have a question. I'm trying to get clear. So the perception I'm getting right now from this is that this is more so a process to promote people to get their community to fund their businesses, basically. But in a sense where we can get our communities to help and support first, then that's supposed to be the open eye for borrowers or United borrowers to lenders to give funds for businesses.
Kind of, yes. Yes and no.
So how strict is it towards, as far as the lenders, we don't know who they are. So how do we know that they understand how important the business or the organization that we're trying to get started is to the community in which it's trying to get into?
Yeah, through this section of the application.
Okay.
So I'll get there.
Okay.
So photo, everyone's got a photo. Video, I really don't tend to talk about this. I'll have a one-on-one conversation about this with you, Kendrick. But yeah, a lot of room for error. If you're really interested in doing a video, talk to me about it first. There's certain criteria that we ask that you include and all that. So let me know. But I'm gonna skim over this right now. So we have the loan use statement. Before you even click on someone's profile, you can see their picture and this specific statement. We ask that you keep it to about 20 words or less so that it doesn't cut off on the website before clicking on the profile. And this is the first statement that you get to write, saying a Kiva loan of X amount of money helps insert the rest of it here. So you want to put in helps my business grow its clientele through working capital. Of course, be more specific depending on what you're looking to do.
Okay, so basically we're doing this application and posting this or you're posting this to your site for people in the area abroad to crowdfund your type of business. And the max amount is like the 10K. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
So that's our loaning statement. We ask people to be very specific here. It's one of the first things that people see. And again, this gives you examples of good ones versus bad ones, or not bad ones, not so great ones. So a really great one is like keep a loan of X amount helps create and promote special needs friendly spaces to do fun and practical activities in the community. So that's like one very clear example where you can talk about how important this is to the community that you're working in. This is actually someone I've worked with directly, and she is beginning like a special needs care center for people in Baltimore City. So not so great one would be definitely this one because it's way too long. Both of these other ones are too big. So visitors and residents love and learn the history of my city. Not really talking about what your business is actually doing in getting there. So I think definitely being specific, but short, concrete, as much as you can, that'll definitely draw people's attention pretty quickly.
What's the recourse that one would have? Let's say that you help fund a person's business. What's the recourse to make certain that you get paid?
Faith.
Okay.
Accountability on my end. That's a tough one, right? We try and say that this isn't an investment in a business because there's no way you're gonna get more than what you put in, right? So that's like the first part of the investment. You're always looking to get back more than what you put in. Not really the case with Kiva, but it's more of that potential opportunity that you're creating for someone else to create an opportunity, right? So if you have $25 and you can leverage that and give that to someone who's trying to start their small business, they may be using that $25 to buy a coffee roaster. And that coffee roaster brings in 25% extra revenue. So they have to hire another person because they can't keep up with all the people that they're selling to. So now, not only have we increased the revenue for the business, but we've also gotten a job for someone who otherwise might not have had one. Right? So we've increased more in the employment opportunity, and we want that to continue reverberating out, and that's something that we really tell people through our Kiva site is like, we're really investing in these people and the communities that they exist in, not necessarily like their business. And well, like yes, their business, but like you're not going to get as much return. You're going to get what you put in, if not less sometimes.
I'm assuming that Kiva is nonprofit. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Because I don't see a way how you all tend to make any money off of this.
Right.
Okay.
No, we're in the business of people, so we want to support people.
Okay.
Okay, so the next part is moving into our personal story. All the personal story and the business description are both capped at 300 words, so you can't go over that amount. I work with people one-on-one. If they want to send that to me, I can edit that for them, give them suggestions as to how to improve their writing. If they have way too much, cutting it down. Pretty much anything that you might need there, I'm willing to help with. A great personal story, like I said, capped at 300, so 2 to 3 very short paragraphs are great. Being personal, this is the chance that you get to talk about you and your experiences, so you can talk more about maybe like a childhood inspiration moment that you had. Like you always used to cook with your grandma in the kitchen, and that's how you first got introduced to cooking, and that's why you want to become a chef, and talking about those very personal details that someone across the globe could potentially read and have a connection with. I think that's the most important part to keep in mind, as Kendrick said earlier too, that you want to think about how you're pitching yourself and your business to people who won't necessarily know you online too. It's one thing to make an impression in person, but this is all online. So it's really important to have like a good picture for that purpose.
And Caitlin, I want to add that in real life, we know that we have our 30-second pitch. But when you're writing about your business, but you only have this amount of characters or this amount of words, 300 words, that was a different skill set that it made me take out certain things that was too much fluff, and it made me get precise to the point. And my question was, what's the reasoning behind the 300 words? Is that like the same amount of caption in a Twitter space, or is that something standard across the country? I was just curious to know, because that was actually to me, a great exercise going through being able to say what I wanted to say, but keeping it where I had to copy and paste it to like a word count document that I had open to make sure that, oh, I only got 10 more words left. Well, I'm over 30 words. I got to cut back. So my question was, where does that come from? Like, where did that 300 or whatever?
Yeah. I'm sure it didn't start that way. I don't know the whole evolution behind it. I have two theories. One is that from the lender perspective and going online, they probably can only hold their attention for about 300 words or so.
Okay.
I'm sure that's where that probably came from. But I think you're right. Kiva wants you to like, the reason we have you do all these parts of the application. Hey, come on in.
Hey, Ebony, how you doing? Hey, Sean.
The reason we have you do all of these parts of the application is partly for you, so that you know how to talk about your business and be able to be knowledgeable on your finances and all that stuff. So I think those are my two theories. It's the best I got. So yeah.
How many folks do you actually have on your site in the area?
Oh, in both. So anyone can become a lender. That's the thing. So I can't measure that specific number at any one time.
No, I probably folks seeking a loan.
Oh, seeking a loan. So this email went out to, at least in the BPM network, about like 30 people or so. So that is definitely a huge pocket. But I also work with a bunch of partners across the city to increase that number. Right now, I would say I have like very seriously interested that I have talked to about it, probably 10 to 15 people lined up that I'm working with. But it's a long process, like depending on where they're at in the business development stage. If they need to be connected to a resource, that takes time then to develop whatever that resource is asking about and helping them figure out for their business. So some of these people I've been working with for months. Some people come in one day and are ready to fundraise the next. So yeah, they can change from, it can be a huge number or a small number at any given point. Okay, so yeah, so this is more about the personal story. I don't know if anyone had any questions around that. Okay, cool. So we're just going up through the different parts of the Kiva application.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Bow tied up.
Okay, so the next section is that business description. This is pretty much, I would say, your 30-second elevator pitch for your business, what you want to include in here, also 300-word max. This is another point. The longer it is, the less to the point it normally is anyway, so people will feel fluff if they feel that they can. So that's another reason why we try and keep it shorter. But yeah, making sure that you talk about your business and what you actually do. A lot of people like to to tell, but not really show. You want to really bring people in and like give them the nitty gritty here of your business. Like, I've been pounding the pavement for however many years, and this is how much revenue we've sparked, and this is how this loan would increase our revenue, and looking at different aspects like that. What you do in the community is a huge one that people always include here.